Did you know Sonic the Hedgehog is a video game character? That is why I'll be counting down my top 5 favorite Sonic video games. Starting us off is Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania really kicked off the trend of giving classic Sonic his own game. Unfortunately, the other game they gave him is kind of mid, but that's not to say that this one has to fault because of it. This game does start off the same as Generations and starting us off with Green Hill and then Chemical Plant. That's not a problem because this game is just so much fun. The fact that all these different old stages got brought back to life in a new, vibrant colorway, and that's just amazing. And the boss fights are all really fun. The Stage 1 boss fights, the Stage 2, the final boss, they're all done very well and really enjoyable. They break up the pace enough, and they're all different in their own way. The fact that the game starts off with the Death Egg Robot as Green Hill's boss is amazing. This game was made by Sonic fans for Sonic fans. That's why seeing Mania Plus mode adding back Ray and Mighty, characters who haven't been in games in decades to that point, was amazing and a great way to replay through the main game with a new coat of paint. And that is why Sonic Mania is my number 5. Coming in at number 4, we've got Sonic Adventure 2 / Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. This game is just pure fun. From all the different game modes to all the different levels, pretty much all of them having an iconic level that you associate with this game. From it being City Escape, Radical Highway, heck, even Cannon Core, Mission Street, I can't even name any of the Knuckles stages. Like, they're just all so memorable. Not to mention that this game brought our favorite little edgelord, Shadow the Hedgehog, into the fray, meaning that this game has to be iconic for so many different levels. It also introduced Riz Shabat, but I prefer not to talk about her. This game gave every playable character time to shine and grow and just expand upon their development. This game has one interesting factor where it doesn't say which character is stronger by default. Because of its hero and dark storyline, you get to play as Sonic fighting Shadow and then Shadow fighting Sonic, and same with all the other characters, so you never truly know who is stronger than the other. The variety of gameplays in this game is amazing, from exploring space as Knuckles and Rouge and ancient ruins, from running around in a mech as Eggman and Tails, or heck, just running from the military as Sonic and Shadow. And I haven't even mentioned the music of the game. Having just vocal tracks in some stages, the rap of Knuckles stages, the rock of Shadows, and just all the different variety in music. I haven't even mentioned the main title theme, Live and Learn, living rent-free in almost every Sonic fan's head. This game, however, has the best atmosphere for a final boss that I have ever seen. Fighting the Bio-Lizard attached to the Space Colony Arc as it hurtles it down to Earth is amazing. Super Sonic and Shadow trying to stop it before it's too late is amazing. I don't know what other words to use here. Now, it's tragic how Shadow has to sacrifice himself in the end to win, but living in the future, we know Shadow returns in the next game, and he got his own game later on, and I can't wait to see what they do with him in Sonic 3. That's why Sonic Adventure 2 is my number 4. Coming in at the 3rd spot, we have Sonic Generations. Sonic Generations is a game growing up that I've seen so many people play that it's just ingrained to my memory. Between all the mods and walkthroughs and everything in between, it's just there. Having classic Sonic in this game really helps break up the gameplay difference between Sonic and, well, Sonic. It's weird because this game released in a time where Sonic fans were at peak hype for the entire franchise, just to pretty much have it all go away by the next game and then return with Mania just to disappear again. And don't even get me started on the stage selection because it is pretty much perfect all the way through. You have Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, Speed Highway, City Escape, and just so many more banger stages from Sonic's history up to that point. This game started the trend of Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant always returning in games. But here it was fresh and brand new, never done before. So it was very exciting to see these old stages in new modern HD. And in my opinion, the most disappointing fact of this game is the final boss. The Time Eater has such a cool concept and such a terrible execution for a boss. It's slow, it just doesn't quite work well. It just doesn't seem like they fully finish it, but everything else about this game is fully thought out. Sonic Generation also has rival fights, which you'll fight one of Sonic's rivals throughout his history. The first one is against Metal Sonic, and it's done very well. You pretty much race him and try and deal as much damage to him as he can before he can knock you off the track. When you're facing Shadow, it's kind of similar. You have to beat Shadow in a race and collect more energy orbs before he can to defeat him. Otherwise, he will unleash Chaos Spear and destroy you. Now, the unfortunate part is these boss fights are just way too easy. Even in the challenge mode, they're not that much more difficult. I mean, Silver's fight is much better than his one in Sonic 06, but that's not saying much when you actually know what that boss fight is. Now, there's also 2 normal boss fights where you go up against one of the 2 Eggman versions in the game. Sonic goes up against the Egg Dragoon, where Classic Sonic goes up against the Death Egg Robot. And I gotta say, the Egg Dragoon is much better than the one in Unleash, at least in my opinion. I will quickly talk about Sonic and Shadow Generations. At the time of recording, it's not out yet, but I am genuinely excited for this game. Mainly the Shadow aspect, because I already know Sonic Generations is a good game. I'm quite interested to see how Shadow will develop in this installment of his story. Coming in at number 2, we have my second favorite Sonic game, Sonic Frontiers, and I don't even know where to begin with this game. I picked it up day 1 and have not looked back since. I've loved this game since the moment I played it. Between the cyberspace levels pretty much being a rehash of old Sonic levels, which doesn't bother me that much, although they are required to beat the game, they're not that big of a problem since it's not the main focus of the game. They're there if you want to enjoy them, and you can almost completely ignore them if you feel like it. Although if we do get a Frontiers 2 in some way, I do hope they mix up the variety of the themes of the levels. I also really liked the mini-bosses that were roaming around the islands. The fact that they could just interrupt you at a moment's notice and you either had to fight them or run away was really fun. Breaking up the pace of the game to where it's not like you're just roaming around the 5 different islands trying to find stuff. And I really liked the new combat system that they introduced with this game. And where would Sonic Frontiers be without the final bosses of each island? They are so much fun to play. From flying over one of the islands you just spent the entire 2 hours running around, to fighting in a volcano. It's just the variety that they have in them is amazing. Not only do they mix it up by having each fight have different cutscenes and quick time events, they keep it fresh by not sticking with the same stuff over and over again. I hope Sega takes the blueprint that they laid out in this game with the boss fights and bring them over to future Sonic games, keeping this variety that is just unseen in pretty much the same boss fight. Just different assets used and different effects, but it really makes or breaks how they are. Now, unfortunately, the base game did end with Supreme and the end being quite disappointments of them just being this one Space Invader game you played twice throughout the whole game, and then Giganto 2.0. They're not exactly fun. I enjoyed them, but not compared to the other 2. But they saved it with Final Horizons. Having the end take over Supreme and make it like this weird spider thing, I don't even know what to call it, is amazing. And then pretty much getting the closest thing ever we'll have to Super Sonic 2 is just amazing. I could spend a whole hour talking about how much fun this boss fight is, but I'm not. And I'm gonna end this segment with just talking about how perfect they made Super Sonic fight in all of the boss fights. I mean, the fact that he just is punching these giant robots with these weird astral projecting fists and all this, and just all the crazy combos he does is just insane. This is how Super Sonic should be fighting, not just flying into some weird weak spot. And by ending it by having him get shot out of the cannon straight through Supreme, straight through the end, ending it is amazing. Before we get to the number 1 spot, here are some honorable mentions. That's right, ending off my list is Sonic Rush, the best handheld Sonic video game ever. This game is leagues above Sonic Advance. This game set the path for Sonic 3 years before they even tried it, and they still weren't fully into it until 2010. This game also gave us Blaze the Cat and many people's favorite character as well. It's unfortunate that she hasn't done much and her whole story is pretty messy between Sonic games. Thank you, Sonic 06. The half pipes return from Sonic 2 in this game, and for Sonic's story, you have to use them to get the Gas Emeralds, while in Blaze's story, you just get them through beating the bosses. Another cool factor about this game is towards the end, so you have to fight Blaze or Sonic depending on whose story you are, and that's just a really fun boss fight with really good music that you hear in the background of this current video. Now, the only real difference between Sonic and Blaze's campaigns are the order you do the levels in. They're pretty much mix-matched, and the music is different. There's no unique bosses for either of them, except for, well, Blaze when you're playing as Sonic, and Sonic when you're playing as Blaze. But mostly their movesets are the exact same, just with a different coat of paint. This was the first game to introduce the boost mechanic, so if we didn't get this game, we might have not gotten Unleashed, Colors, Generations, or Forces. That last one might be a good thing though. Also, I am just in love with how Blaze and Sonic transform into their super forms in this game. It is just amazing how it looks, and the feel of it just makes you feel like they're on a different level. While Sonic gets his standard super form closer to what he got in Adventure 1 and 2, Blaze gets a whole new form that's called Burning Blaze, and its design is pretty much just red and on fire, which is really cool. In the finale, it's up to Sonic and Blaze to defeat Eggman and Eggman's alternate version. This boss fight is really fun because of how you have to defeat each version, where Sonic has to hit back the projectiles he shoots out, while Blaze has to charge pretty much an energy blast and hit Eggman. Lastly, I think this game has some of the best stage design ever. It arcs back to Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles of having the higher path where you can go faster, but it's harder to stay on it while going fast. It challenges you to stay vigilant and focused on what's ahead of you. I hope you enjoyed my top 5. Let me know your top 5 in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe.